play for Adams in there. Oh, what a goal! Shea Adams!
Sent closer towards the back post. Jukovic in there. Jukovic! Oh, what a header! This man is on red-hot form at St Andrews at the moment.
And it goes again towards the towering Zigic. Oh, confusion at Martins! And surely scored the winning goal for Birmingham City!
Hello and welcome to the Blues Talk podcast. In the first week of pre-season, my name's Callum Denning, Dale Moon alongside me. Players back in at the Trillion Trophy Training Centre under the watchful eye of caretaker head coach Pep Clotet. But one man who knows all about the rigours the players will be going through during pre-season is Darren Purse, who joins us on the Blues Talk podcast.
The Blues Talk podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
So Dale, first Blues Talk of pre-season. The lads are back in. A slightly rainy Trillion Trophy Training Centre anyway at the start of this week. It got a bit nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sat here now on Thursday. It's
beaming.
25 degrees, sunny
yeah.
outside.
I wish it was like
weather.
that Monday, Tuesday when we're out with the cameras filming the boys. But yeah, good that the players are all back in. Obviously, they had pre-season testing, Coventry University last week, and then here we're at the Trillion Trophy Training Centre, and then straight into it Monday. And so I think the first couple of days are always easing the players back in, getting them moving their bodies again and getting running. Yeah, and then they probably beasted midway through the week and into next week. So good to have them back around the place. You feel like the season's getting closer now. The players are in. Obviously, all the new kit, the training gear that they've got, I think, has gone down really well with supporters.
I need to get some. I do need to get some.
Yeah, so good to get them around the place again, and just like I say, another marker that the season's just around the corner.
Of course, be remiss of us not to mention, of course, there has been a change of face at the top when it comes to first team management. Gary Monk, club has party company with him. Board placed on record their thanks and best wishes for the future. But Pep Clotet now takes the reins.
Absolutely, yeah. Pep, someone who we've had on this very show, isn't he? As Gary Monk's assistant, talked eloquently and in detail about his footballing philosophy and people who influence the game. So there's clearly a intellectual coach in Pep Clotet, and he's the man at the spearhead now. And yeah, he's obviously spoke to Blues TV this week as well in a feature-length interview with head of media Colin Tatham. So I think that provides quite an insight into his thinking as well. And it's just a case of all of us supporters, club again, continuing that one club mentality that we had last season, sticking together, moving forward, and of course, just supporting the new head coach.
As you mentioned, Pep Clotet was on Blues Talk start of April. If you want to go back and listen to it, fascinating.
Yeah.
Views on the game, his experiences in life and how that impacts it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, do go and have a listen to that. But one man who also has a range of fascinating views. He's been there and done it in the game. He was captain here, captain Cardiff. He got to play for the team he supported, been promoted a good few times, is Darren Purse.
Yeah, fantastic character in the game. And again, when we do these sorts of interviews from the players of the 90s into the early 2000s, this was my golden years as a supporter. So as a young lad, I used to come down and trying to be a centre-half, as Darren Purse was during my playing days. And Park's pictures. He was a bit of like an idol, so brilliant to speak to Darren Purse. But what I liked about this was it felt like there was no barriers and no filters with what he was saying. Very honest, great stories of both being here at Blues and what happened in the dressing rooms and down the tunnel, the players he's played with, managers that he's got on with and managers he hasn't. And now obviously his aspirations as now a school teacher, but more importantly as a coach. He wants to obviously go and get into the management side of the game, and great insight. But one of my most enjoyable podcasts to record this one because he came out with everything that was on his mind.
Well, as you're about to hear, recording a slightly unique location in a school in Northampton. I don't think we'd ever do that with the Blues Talk podcast.
No,
but
bizarre.
Listen, let's go back to that school now and let's have a listen to Darren Purse.
The Blues Talk podcast.
Darren Purse, thanks for joining us on Blues Talk. We are in a classroom in Northampton at the Malcolm Arnold Academy.
How random's that?
Which is
probably the most unique location. I mean, we've done Delia Adebola's back garden. We've done the training ground, we've done the stadium, but we've never done a school.
No. If we'd have done the back garden, I'd have done a barbecue for you. It would have been a bit better.
Dealey got a squash, like
Dealey,
nothing else. Yeah.
we haven't got much out of anyone, have we? For
No.
our podcast.
No, we do need to up our game.
I made you
on
a
that,
cup
I
of
think.
tea. So.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
We could start off with the start of your career and go chronologically, but I want to talk about the two most highly regarded players at Blues and how you've had incidents or events with both of them in terms of Trevor Francis and Christophe Dugarry. Okay. So we're going into the meaty
Straight in with that.
stuff. We're going straight in with the meaty stuff.
Who's starting with them?
Let's go with TF to start with. So Trevor Francis, take us back to the training incident that meant that you were out of action for a little while.
It was random. Tricky as everybody calls him. Even at 50 years of age, I think he was around when he was still the best player on the pitch. You know, he was unreal. And the lads used to have a bit of a bounty going on him as well. So if you could kick him in training and all that sort of stuff. And I think we even had a bit of a fine pot that if you actually drew blood, you got a bit of the fine money out of the thing. Which was,
did anyone manage to do it?
All the time. You've seen me tackle, mate. I was paid my mortgage for about a year. But so that was one thing. But the training incident, I used to go and goal quite a lot, but it wasn't even from that. We was playing this little five-a-side, small goals, and everybody would try their absolute hardest to stop him from scoring. I know, as I said, you'd kick him, you'd budge him over, and he'd be whinging around to Millsy and that because he was the referee. And he's hit this shot, and it's going in top corner. I thought, I can't let him score. So I've just dived and just tipped it round the post. And as I've done it, I've just felt this little crack in my wrist so the pain. So I've gone down. It might have been a Friday morning as well. And we had a game on a Saturday. I've gone down. I thought, this ain't right here. Something's gone on. So I've jumped up, tried to shake it off, sort of thing, and it weren't having it. So I just run straight off the training pitch. Percy, where you going? Got to go. So I went down, see the physio. I think John Price was the physio at the time. I said, Price, I think I broke my wrist. Went straight out, X-ray. Hour later, I'm in a cast and can't play for 6 weeks. So it was a bit of a nightmare. But everybody would try their damnedest to stop him from scoring or stop him from being on the winning team.
Did he talk to you after that? How does that conversation go when they're at your manager?
He was right. It wasn't like it meant to do it. It was just a random accident. You know, I mean, I'll probably do it 100 times and nothing will happen. I probably have done it 100 times over my career, and but this one time I ended up fracturing my wrist.
Unbelievable.
Ended your goalkeeping career that, or?
No, I still love going to goal.
Was you good?
All right, I saved a penalty when I was 17.
Did you?
For Leighton Orient, yeah. We was playing Torquay away, and as I said, I'd always enjoyed going in goal, and after training I'd always be the one that put the gloves on. And our goalkeeper got run fair and got sent off. And I think it was 1-0 up as well away from home.
Big save.
About 20 minutes in and saved the penalty. So that was all good. Conceded, I think, in the last minute, but it was decent.
After you've done that, did the club come out and say what had happened, or did they manage to hide it?
I think he just said it was a training incident.
Injury in training.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Imagine now if we'd have a job as a media department.
I know,
to explain. The thing is, football's changed a lot though. The media nowadays, they scrutinise everything. But sort of 20 years ago, probably Tats was probably sitting there watching the training anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and there'd have probably been some sort of agreement between the clubs that he don't print it, just say it was a training ground incident. So it was a lot more open house years ago, and we probably would have had fans watching the training and things like that. So,
but he still had a bit at 50 years old.
Oh, listen, what a player! What a player! As I said, I'd love to have seen him in his absolute prime. Yeah. You know, because he was excellent. So I told you,
teaser in.
Got your
Here we
teaser
go.
sorted.
Big moment.
Don't sort us out with tease. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, honey. Top man.
It was interesting because he'd done a Blues Talk podcast TF with us, with Colin Tatum a few weeks ago, and Tats was questioning him on who he likens himself to in terms of modern day player that stylistically he's like, and I think he went with Mbappe, didn't he? Or he's heard Mbappe.
Yeah.
Which is a massive shout. but because he said he was renowned for playing out on the wing and he had this pace about him that just gets him away from
that
players
age as well.
At such a young age.
I haven't really seen sort of clips. I've seen like his goal in the European Cup final and things like that as a player, but just looking at him as at 40, 50 years of age, he was still an unbelievable talent, and just fair play to him.
What's he like as a manager for you?
Do you know what? People say this, and he did well for the club. I think he managed the club for, was it about 6 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah, it was up there.
He did well getting in the playoffs 4 years on the spin. And
get across the line.
It was hard because obviously the year that he left, obviously Brucey came in and did it. But as a manager, and obviously you look at managers nowadays, and as a manager, I don't think he was great.
Yeah.
But he brought in good players, and you're talking about people like Martin O'Connor was at the club. Obviously, he brought Brucey in, Jeff Horsfield, people like that run the dressing room for him. You know what I mean? So I've put myself in there as well, and sort of, if anybody stood out of line, the players dealt with it. He didn't have to deal with any of that. We were such a good, close knit group of lads that we managed the sort of dressing room for him, and Millsy was good, you know, around the place, and sort of tactically, and him and Bowyer, they were the tactical side of it. I think Trevor was just the front, but I'm not taking anything away from him for what he did for the club over the 6 years that he did it. He was quality, and really enjoyed playing for him. You know, he was a good manager, and got a lot of time for him.
Yeah, when you speak to former players, I suppose when it's all managers, some will say how great he was because they were in the side and he favoured them and liked him, and then others will come away and completely won't have him at all as a manager or as a person.
I think if he was playing week in, week out, he was a great manager to play for. If he wasn't, he had that tendency to sort of forget about it. It was starting 11, the rest take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so if you was to say there was a criticism, it would probably be that.
Yeah.
But I played for him most of the time, so so it was all good.
Who is your best favourite manager you played under?
A lad called Dennis Smith.
Yeah.
I've played for some, like Brucey was top class, you know. For the time I played for him, I played some really good managers. But I've always Dennis Smith at Oxford United when I signed for Oxford at 19 years of age. For what he did with that club, keeping them in the Championship, and I think the first year I was there, we just missed out on the playoffs in the Championship. For a club like Oxford with the budget they had, he did brilliantly, and obviously he went on to West Brom and clubs like that, but it didn't really sort of kick on for him, his managerial career. But Oxford, I thought he was excellent, and I had a lot of time for him and obviously his assistant Malcolm Crosby. But as I've been lucky enough, like Mickey Adams was excellent. You know, signing for him at Port Vale later on in my career. When he was at Port, he made 2 signings in January. He signed me and Lee Hughes. You know what I mean? I was 36, I think, and Hughes was
the old boys.
Hughes was the same, and so I think that little bit of experience just got him over the line. So I think it was about Christmas time. I was having a little bit of a wobble up, and so he was another good manager. Just said it as it was. You know, and I think as footballers, all you ever wanted to know was the truth, and a manager that told it as it was, and if it weren't something you agreed with, you could get on with it rather than milling around. Oh, you're still the best player, and I'm not playing. You know, they was always the worst managers to play for. Yeah,
we'll touch on your early days and before you joined Blues. I want to talk about Christophe Dugarry, because along with Trevor Francis, I think my generation who never got the privilege to see TF play would say Christophe Dugarry, the best player to ever put on a Blues shirt. And you played in the same squad as him, saw him day in, day out. How good was he to start?
When we speak about players, you can't get on with everybody in football. I did not get on with Christophe at all. You know,
was did just not. A character clash?
Yeah. Listen, I was one of them. I knew when I walked on that football pitch, I had to be 100% on it. I wasn't a great footballer. Yeah. You know, I played with my heart rather than anything else. You know, I wasn't. That's how I'm great. I was
made the best of everything.
I made it, and if I wasn't 100% in training or in games, I wasn't. That's when I knew I wasn't on it. Yeah. You know, and I was quite intense and things like that. And Christophe was totally the other opposite. He was so laid back, you know, but his talent was unreal. The best player I've ever played with. And I've played with some good ones as well, like Aaron Ramsey, people like Christophe was out of this league. Yeah. And the year that he signed in January, to keep us up that year was phenomenal. Yeah. You know, he was a great player, but we had our clashes, you know, and I didn't agree with how unprofessional he was about the way he went around things. Like, I think the year he kept us up, he signed a 2-year contract. We came back for pre-season. Christophe was there for the first day. Just walked around, had a little jog around. That was it. But then went back to France for 2 weeks to play in someone's testimonial. I can't remember whose testimonial it was. but didn't come back for 2 weeks. He was supposed to go away, come back 2 days later and carry on pre-season, didn't come back. But he'd signed his 2-year deal, you know, and I think why there was a contract on the line for him and all that sort of stuff, and that's probably why he had so many clubs. Why there was that contract on the line, he was fantastic. Once he signed his 2-year contract, he down tools a little bit, and I didn't agree with things like that.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, hands down the best player I played with.
Do you think you weren't the only one? Yeah, I can imagine if you're a manager, you're trying to get a tightly knit dressing room, and then one of the players, you know, you're working your socks off in pre-season, and then one's allowed to go and disappear for 2 weeks.
But if he'd come back after that 2 weeks and played at the same form that he had that year, we stayed up the first year. As a player, if he's scoring goals and doing that, you take it all day long.
Yeah.
You know, and just let them get on with it. But when it don't happen and they're not scoring the goals and they're not doing what they should be doing, that's when questions start getting asked. You know, there's the incident. I know you said about the incident in the tunnel with me and him. We was at home, 3-1 up, Everton. You know, in the Premier League, we've beaten Everton 3-1 at home, night game, and he just didn't track a run in. It was like the 93rd minute. So I've just gone straight at him. You see you next Tuesday. I'm going bang out of all day. Do it for as I'd normally do to most people. I think I was a horrible person to play with because I demanded what I did from everybody else, and people like Grange and people like that had buzz off it. Do you know what I mean? But he didn't. So in the time I played in the World Cup, you don't give a crap where you are. You know what I mean? You're here now, so you do the job that you're being paid to do. Yeah. So in the tunnel, and there was that little bit. I would say there was a clique, but there was the French boys because we had Alou Cisse. Who was the other lad? Olivier Tebili, who was an absolute unit, by the way. So as we've gone down the tunnel, there's Christophe waiting to me, and I can see the other two behind me. So as we've got in, and there was like fisticuffs in the tunnel, a few punches thrown. They've jumped in. I think I had Grange, Gilly, Horse after on my back, and it just sort of kicked off. It sort of got hushed into the. And to be fair, I don't know the actual day, but I don't think he played too much afterwards. I said I think he just. He'd down tools. He'd earned his 2-year career, his 2-year contract, and the rest is history. But just to say, unbelievable talent. Yeah. What a player.
Yeah, he's in punditry now. You see him a lot on French TV.
Yeah, he's like the French Gary Lineker.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah, he is quite prominent on. He's got a skinhead.
Yeah. But when I say that I didn't really get on with him, that summer that we was there, I went to Euro Disney with the kids. And he got me fast passes for everything and all that. So he must have liked me. He must have liked me a little bit.
What you're saying is you used Christophe Dugas whilst you got on with him, and then
to avoid Kieran,
and then pied him off.
It was all good.
It's over 2 decades since you joined the club now. So 21 years ago since you joined Blues. Do you remember what happened when the interest came in? And
I do. I think there was a little bit of interest because obviously I think Kev Francis went the other way in the deal. I'd had a good 18 months at Oxford playing in the Championship. I don't know why Trevor Francis signed me because the couple of times I played against Birmingham or against Blues when I was at Oxford, I played once as a right wing back against Grange. So I remember playing against him.
I think I
played right. Yeah, I think I played right back in the next one. So to sign me as a centre half after watching me a couple of times there. Was good, but I remember my agent ringing me just saying Trevor Francis wants to meet you. So I met him at a restaurant called Simpsons in Kenilworth. Who became a good pal of mine, Andrea Santona, who runs the restaurant. He became a good pal after that. So I met him, had a chat, and signed. So it was signed actually on my 21st birthday, which was brilliant for me. You know, as a young lad, sort of coming in and. I felt I'd made it a little bit, £1 million player, and
what a dream that is.
It was.
I'm trying to remember what I did on my 21st birthday.
I'll tell you, I was in Bruges on my 21st birthday watching Blues.
Europa League, nice, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I weren't sold for £1 million.
Yeah, so it worked out really well, and like the hard work that you've done throughout it, and you slowly see your career progressing, and you can't speak highly enough of how sort of going into the club. And how big a football club it is. Obviously, I'd played for Leyton Orient and Oxford them times, two sort of a lot smaller clubs, and then walking in and then you're seeing 27, 28,000 on a Saturday afternoon. Obviously, that was back in the heyday when obviously Rover was still going, and
Yeah,
it was a proper place to play football on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, you had a great mop of hair. I remember you when you
Still have got a great moment. Look at
It's not bad barnet, to be fair, but back then it was more of like a curtain style.
No, it was yeah. I think it a couple of years it started coming off. I thought I need a hard man image. So I changed me for the way I played. I think.
Did you always play? Did you always play that way at Oxford at Leighton Orient? Was you always the 100%?
I had to be.
Yeah.
I knew I had to be. I played with thousands of players that were technically better footballers than me. But if you put us in a 1v1 situation, I think 9 times out of 10 I'd beat you.
Yeah.
You know, just because I had that determination and that will to win to do it, and I needed that in my career to play where I played.
Yeah. Do you think youngsters miss out on that a little bit? You work with young players now. Do you think they give as much as you'd like them to, and they realise it from a young age or not?
I think youngsters nowadays are given too much too early. I don't think they have to fight for it anymore. I know people say about you can't have kids doing boots, but I think that is a fundamental of young lads and apprenticeships coming through. You need to do the dirty side of the game. You know, so if I was, it'd be something I'd probably bring back, especially from 16 to 18. If you're in the youth team, you clean the boots, even if that is your only job. But I remember doing everything, cleaning everywhere. You know, doing the boots, cleaning the changing rooms, getting the kit to get washed, sweeping the stands on a Sunday morning or Monday morning after games. It was what you did as a youth team player, and I think it stood me in good stead for the career that I've had. And I think if we went, but I don't think you have to go back to kids sweeping the stands and painting the dressing rooms, but definitely cleaning boots and maybe even picking kit up off the floor, because that's you doing your apprenticeship again, and having that respect for players that are there and doing it. And so it's something that I'd like to see brought back into the game, because kids nowadays have got it too easy.
Paul Robinson and Kevin Phillips said the same, didn't they, when they were on the podcast, how it really made their kind of careers, gave them those aspects that you spoke about. So I
just think about going through adversity and being grounded, and probably brings get a bit of character out of them.
You see, obviously I work in a school here as well during the day, and kids don't deal with adversity. Everybody, there's a massive issue at the moment with like anxiety and kids with anxiety and
getting prizes for taking part.
And I don't believe in that. You know, he's poorly behaved. Let's give him a sort of
a boost.
Let's give him some points for good behaviour. No, but he still needs to know when he's
out of line.
As a footballer, played poorly. I still need to know when you've behaved poorly. You can't just get rewards for when you've done something well, or when you've done something that should be a fundamental of
what's expected.
Yeah. So wear the right uniform to school. Don't get a plus point for because you've won. That's a fundamental of the school.
It's expected.
It's your expectation. So yes, I don't believe that with youngsters that they should be given things for not earning them. And I think when you go back to it, I think when you do clean your boots and wash your kit and all that sort of stuff, that's you earning the right to become a professional footballer.
Yeah. A big highlight of your time at Blues, at least, was the penalty against Liverpool. But I want to rewind a little bit earlier than that. The 5-5 against Watford at St Andrews, you scored to make it 5-5, did you not? In a penalty?
Oh, penalty, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
We got beat in the end, though, didn't we? Was it Chrissy Holland?
Yeah. Well, there's two. Kevin Paul blasts one.
Yeah.
And then Chris Holland as well. You got your memories of that night? Because that seemed to be the one that we should have gone through.
Yeah, I thought we deserved to win that game. Preston away as well when we lost on a penalty shootout there. I missed that day.
Yeah.
But that we deserved to win that night. When you talk about obviously Trevor's or Tricky's his legacy, he'll always be remembered for the manager that didn't quite get us over the line. Yeah. You know, and when you think about the Watford game, the Preston game, and obviously Sheffield United when we got beat by them 4-0 at home, you could say that we sort of choked a little bit in certain situations. Definitely the Sheffield United game at home. Yeah. You know, but like the penalty situation, they're a toss of the coin. You know, and you think about the boys that missed. It's hard for them to take it at their moment in time. But good times. You could not get a better atmosphere at St Andrews when it was full, you know. And people talk about obviously what was the best atmosphere you've ever? The best atmosphere I ever had at St Andrews was the semi-final against Ipswich.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Listen, the pitch was crap, the weather was crap,
True.
but like you had the high. Obviously, you think we're going through. Then we conceded. We're not going through, and it was just a great night. And the way it all panned out with the pitch, because we took a hammering because of the pitch that way, trying to get it on, and
AJ finishing it off.
Because of the pitch.
Because of the pitch. But it was what a night.
Yeah.
Best night I've had in football.
Yeah, a lot of people cite that one as one of the best. The West Ham one's another one.
Yeah. 2011.
Yeah, and the run to the Carling Cup, but that Ipswich one pops up quite a lot when you speak to
especially for the older generation.
Did you practice penalties? Because you seem to have taken quite a few.
Never practiced. I always enjoyed taking them from a kid. Because up until I was sort of 14, 15, I was a centre forward. So when there was a penalty,
didn't you go up front for a bit with Hughesy? Bit of an injury crisis.
I think I played up front for 6 games. I think, but I played with Alan Johnston.
Okay.
He was on loan. I think he was on loan from Middlesbrough or Sunderland, one of them two. And I played up front with him for a bit. Man. And I just remember it was a Thursday morning, and Trev said he went, look, boys, we're struggling. I need someone to play. We need a centre forward. He said, is there any volunteers? And I said, look, Gaffer, I've played up there. Up till I was 15. He said, I'll give it a go. You know what I mean?
The boys looked in for.
And that was it. And he pulled me after that session. He went, I'm going to make you the next Paul Warhurst. I'd rather not.
I don't know what I mean.
But he said, look, it's not going to affect you as like your career here as a centre half. You know what I mean? I saw you, but I said we're struggling. And I think I did all right. I think we beat West Ham in the Carling Cup or something like that. I think we beat them 2-1. I think I did all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Scored a couple of goals and. Yeah, job done. So I enjoyed it. It was just run around like a blue, just run around and stick your head on.
That's all they do, innit, up front.
Yeah,
that's what I tried to do.
Kick. Yeah, help things on.
But it was good. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, you were named Player of the Season 2000-2001. Was that your best season of football you played, or had you done better than that?
I don't know really. I don't know.
When you think back, when did you play your best spell?
I think if I look back over my career, my best spell was probably at Blues at some stage. You know, but I think whether or not that was my best year, because I think it would have been about 23, 24, then I think my best years would probably been a little bit later on, maybe 26, something like that, but probably didn't get the plaudits because there was probably better players. The thing is, if you've got a centre forward who scores 25 goals a year, he's going to get Player of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? That year we probably didn't have anybody.
This season, the perfect example. Shea Adams had to scoop the awards, but I mean, you look at Lukas Jukovic's contribution, Maxime Collin, Michael Kieftenbeld. In other seasons gone by, they
would have got If he hadn't got, if he'd have scored 15 goals, there's every chance one of them would have got it. And I think later on in the career, I think probably when maybe Jeff Horsfield or someone like that won it, I probably would have had a better career a better season for me personally. But obviously that was just the year that I won that. I think my first year at Cardiff when I signed for Cardiff, I had an excellent season. Yeah. So I'd have been 28 then.
A bit more experience as a centre half.
And I think that the longer I've got. I've often said that once I got to sort of 34, I said if I knew now what I did at 21, you'd be a world beater.
Well, in terms of how to apply yourself.
Yeah, well, no, just not how to apply, just reading the game.
Right.
You know, and I was lucky enough. I played non-league football up until I was 41. You know, and didn't really run around a lot, but just organised people and spoke to people. And I think that's something that's going out of the game now. There's not enough talkers and organisers. You look at these youngsters that are coming through and you try and get them to speak and to talk and tell people what they should be doing in front of them, and nobody speaks. It's just like mutes just running around the pitch. Yeah. And there's a big loss of that sort of person within football at the moment.
I know you've talked about this endlessly, but the Worthington Cup final was obviously it's the highlight reel of Darren Purse's time at Blues. For any Blues fan, that's the first thing that springs to mind when you hear Darren Purse. Just in terms of the day in itself, I know it didn't end as it'd like, but what an occasion it was for that many Blues fans to pack out the Millennium.
Yeah, listen, I've got a good few pals that are Blues fans from my time there, and everybody speaks about it. Everybody speaks about, it took me 6 hours to get there, because I think it was the first one actually in Cardiff, wasn't it? And I think the logistics
roof was closed.
The logistics of getting there, I think it snowed the night before.
Right.
So the logistics of getting there and everything like that was terrible. And you speak to people, I missed the first 15 minutes and all that sort of, but for me personally, as a young kid, all you ever dream about is maybe scoring in the cup final. I remember like watching Ian Rush scoring in the FA Cup finals, and I think one day that'll be me. And to actually do it was unreal. And I look back, obviously every year on Twitter and Facebook and all that, they show the goal on my birthday or the anniversary of the goal. And you look back, my daughter still like sends me pictures of it and things like that, which is nice. And but you look back on it, and it is such an unreal moment. And then I look back and think, what the hell was I doing trying to with my celebration? It's like the worst celebration because I had so long to think about. I'm thinking, what can I do to celebrate? You know what I mean? Because I never once, while I was standing there holding the ball for I think it's about 4 minutes, never once thought I'm going to miss this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even a 3.5 minute delay.
Yeah. I just knew I was going to score.
Celebration.
I've got goosebumps sitting here just thinking about it. You know, I just knew I was going to score for some reason. I don't know why. There was never one bit of doubt. Yeah. Never once when it went through my mind did I think I'm going to miss this.
Yeah. So you're thinking about your celebration a bit.
Yeah, thinking about celebration. I had me obviously dad and mum and everybody like me kids up in the box. So you're thinking about them and what a moment this could be for them. Sitting there watching it and think, and there's so much goes through your mind because you got so long. Because I had so long to think about it. Yeah. So, but I just had, instead of sort of standing in around the penalty spot, I just knew I had to get myself away. So I just grabbed the ball, and I think I'm up by the halfway line at some point, just walking around with the ball.
Swansea.
So, but just an unreal, surreal moment, and I loved every minute. Just as soon as you see it at the back of the net and you're celebrating, I said, just a nightmare celebration.
No. You can tell though, just talking to you now, how big a moment it was.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
Do you realise at the time how big it was?
I look back on my career, mate, and I did not appreciate it one little bit. And when you're 18, 19 in the senior pro say you got to enjoy every minute of it because it goes like that. You're like, no chance. And I don't appreciate it. Obviously, when you do a little bit of media stuff and you're in and around training grounds and all that sort of stuff, you look at the first team boys training and that, and all it was just a job. You turned up, you did your job, walked. You just never appreciated it for what it is, and it's the best job in the world. Yeah, you know. And I wish I'd appreciated it a little bit more than what I did, but loved it.
Robbed that day, weren't we?
Totally. We should have won the game. Should have won. Whether or not we get the penalty when AJ goes down, it's a definite penalty. But for extra time, we played with 10 men as well. Martin O'Connell was struggling. Skip was struggling. You know, he couldn't move. He couldn't move at all. So he ended up playing like a centre half. I think he didn't move. But even with 10 men, we battered them for extra time and should have won.
Yeah. You've already talked about the playoff disappointments. Even the Preston one. I mean, if the rules were as they were now, Blues go through on away goals.
Yeah, totally. It's good.
It's just.
But like when you talk about the Worthington Cup final and that, the build up to that day was brilliant. I think we went down like 2-3 days beforehand. I think David Sullivan had his Welsh mate at a hotel down there, so we went down. It's on a golf course and all that sort of stuff. So we went there. But I just remember that you look back and characters within a dressing room. Like we had Michael Johnson, Benno, Ian Bennett, crackers, absolute crackers. And we, I think Grange was there. One evening we just went for a walk around this golf course. And as we've walked around, obviously Benno's making his silly noise. I think there's a few clips of him as well making his bird noises and all that sort of
video
stuff.
Diary,
There's a video diary of it. So we're doing that, and Jono was doing that. But randomly, in the middle of this field, we've seen this sheep, and it's upside down like that. Itself, but it couldn't turn itself over. We're seeing this sheep, like it might have been the night before like Worthington Cup final. There's this sheep down on its back, and so we're all going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So we're like kids in a sweat. What are we going to do? Didn't know what to do. So it took us about an hour. We're sitting there looking at this sheep. We end up like quickly just turning it over, and the sheep runs off. But like, I was just thinking about that, just random things that just you do. Now, if you used to say to like whoever's in the cup final, you said, "What did you do the night before?" You know, what did you do the night before? Yeah, turn the sheep over and saved the sheep's life. You know what I mean? It's
bizarre.
Team bonding, isn't it?
But you did like 20 years ago, it was fine. Nobody. But if you was to walk out of a hotel the night before a cup final, nowadays there'd be people taking photos of you.
Yeah.
and everything, and you could do it years ago. You can't do it now.
No,
Just thinking how many sheep there are near Wembley.
Is it many? I can't imagine.
Can't imagine many. No,
That's it.
No, it's amazing how quickly it's changed. Though,
Yeah, it has. It's
18 years, and yet the social media and the spotlight on players now.
Yeah.
The stresses that are put on young players, and we talk at length about young players, and you say they probably have too much too soon. Just players who concentrate on their their brand, their image before they've achieved anything is probably a pet hate that we have. You see the young players who haven't probably played in professional level yet or haven't achieved anything or got themselves in the squad, and yet it's all on their Instagram and they're bothered about what pictures and how they look. And
influencers.
But I think there's obviously nowadays you've got a lot of young players are more interested in that than their actual career. And you get these lads that are 21, 22, 23 years of age playing in under 21, under 23 football and never played a first team game. Now, I think for their personal career, at 21 years of age, if you haven't made a first team appearance at a championship club, then that's not your level. Your level might be League Two. Your level might be the Conference South or something like that. But you've got, by 21 years of age, you've got to have found your level. So that means at 18, 19, you've got to go out and play a couple of levels below. Go and play your 20, 30 games for somebody in a 6-month loan spell. Because that will stand you in better stead than just playing under 21 and under 23 football. And you get a lot of these young lads that get released at 21 years of age and they drop down the leagues and they just don't understand what football's all about. Football is about going out every afternoon and playing for 3 points. It's not going out there and playing the best game of football. I played 300 passes today, but every single one of them was square and we lost the game 1-0. It's about going out, finding out how you're going to win this game of football by hook or by crook and going out and doing it. And that's what football's all about. Yeah. And a lot of these young players don't understand that. No. And they need to go out to the lower levels of football, get their experience, get the nitty gritty side of football, and sooner or later the switch clicks.
Absolutely.
I've got a story about tats in a minute. We'll talk about that.
No, let's go.
Should we go for it now?
I'm
talking about obviously getting away with things as well. So we went first season we got in the Premier League. The tats will love this one as well. We went to Malaysia and played in the Asia Cup.
Newcastle, Chelsea,
and the Malaysian national team. So we went out there, and to be fair, it was all right. We played a bit of golf. We had a couple of nights out, but it was scary. Like when you're driving in, there was like 1,000 people standing outside the hotel and all that sort of stuff. It's huge over there. But so we had a couple of nights out in the hotel. We had a couple of nights in the hotel. We had a few beers and all that sort of stuff. And Tats was in the hotel with us, so we found out his room number and everything like that. And obviously I think he was reporting for the Birmingham Mail at the time. So every day he must have had to have come up with 3-4 stories. He's chatting to everybody, watching the sessions, taking photos. So this night we were having a few beers. There's a pool table. It must have been about 2 a.m, something like that. And Tats is on the pool table having a dance around, standing on the top of this pool table. So the lads are sort of having a laugh and a joke with him. So we've gone, right, we'll go up, we'll trash his room. So we got trash his room, so we got his key, did that, turned his bed over, everything. There was cracked soap everywhere, all over his clothes, proper trashed his room. And he's woke up the next morning. Obviously, he's got to find a story today, hasn't he? To open up his laptop was smashed. So I don't know how he got away with it. He must have had a stinking hangover. So in the end, the lads did a bit of a whip round. So to go out and buy him a new computer because he smashed his computer up. But I just remember at 2 o'clock in the morning, just having a little boogie up on this pool table. But he was good to have around because when you say trade, you trusted him. You knew he weren't going to stitch you up. You can have a few beers with him. And the story, whatever stories you'd put out, so they'd have you in a good light rather than the bad light. Where I think nowadays a lot of journalists have got
clickbait stuff.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed he's never mentioned that story.
Is he not? So ask him about it. He was brilliant. But he was good to have on tours and that.
Yeah. I want to touch upon the 2 games against Millwall. You played in them both. And as a Millwall fan, what was that like? Because that is quite a dramatic night at the Den.
No, brilliant. As a Millwall fan, it's hard, but then I speak to my dad. My dad followed Millwall. My dad was a bit of a thug when earlier. Yeah, he was. He'd go home and away. He'd end up getting arrested on away games. And I think when I was born, my mum said to him, she said, "Look, you've either got to choose Millwall or your son." And to be fair, he chose me, which was quite nice. But but he still goes around and follows them around, but he follows them a little bit different now. I sort of get him tickets and that sort of stuff. So
he actually watches the game.
Yeah,
now.
he actually watches the game, does a bit of corporate rather than going and trying to get arrested and have a row. But the home game was great atmosphere again. You know, obviously, did we draw 1-1 at home?
Yeah.
Was it? 1-1 because Dion Dublin scored, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He scored first.
I think
we scored. They
we scored. They equalised, didn't they? So to go away from we always fancied ourselves to go through because the way we were playing, we were a decent side, and we always fancied to go down to the Den, full house. It's very similar. The fans are very similar to Blues fans. You know, they want the best for their team, and they'd rather have somebody that's going to run through a brick wall for their team rather than have a tippy-tappy footballer that looks pretty on the ball. And so we knew it was going to be a tough game, but when you've got players like Stern, John, and people like Stern and people like that in the side, you know you've got a chance of winning. And I think he was one of the first games that Brucey played. I think he played Olivier Tabili just in front of the back four, and he's like a man. And as a back player, and you've got him in front of you, it's just he just stopped most things from coming through to you. He was like a little battering ram. So and when he scored last minute, was it 2 minutes to go?
It was late as you.
Right at the death.
It was unreal, the way. But then after the game, I don't think we left the ground till about 2 a.m.
Yeah, they locked the fans in
because they was turning cars over and burning. I thought for at least an hour we didn't come out of the ground, or an hour and a half. Yeah. But then I think it got to about midnight, and the police were saying, "Look, we can't let you leave the ground." So we had family in the away end, and they opened up the thing and obviously
let them chat.
Let them come into the ground, and we was just sitting there having a chat. And I think it was about 1:30 in the morning before we left that night.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of trouble between
Millwall
fans and
proper
the police.
kicked off. But I'd speaking to my dad before the game, saying, "How'd you feel about it?" He said, "Look, I want you to do well. You know, listen, as much as I support Millwall,
you're his boy, aren't you?"
And he said, "No matter what, I'll be going to Wembley." So
can't lose.
Wherever was it Wembley or Millennium Stadium? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
He said, "No matter what, I'll be going to Cardiff in 10 days' time." But I think his heart of hearts, he wanted his son to do well and get the opportunity to play in the Premier League, and it was good. But I was lucky enough, sort of 15 years later, to go and play for my boyhood club, which was
nice.
Which was brilliant. To do that for 18 months was excellent.
Yeah. Did you know you were suspended? What time?
I knew I was suspended. Yeah. I got sent off against Sheffield United.
So you knew that you couldn't play in the.
And but I always say to this day, because I think I stopped. We were 1-0 up Sheffield United at home, and I stopped him going through 1-on-1.
We won 2-0 that day, yeah.
And we won the game. So I was the reason we got promoted.
Darren Carter takes all these.
That's it. It was me, Sheffield United at home. So if I hadn't done that, we'd have drawn, and we wouldn't have got in the playoffs.
No, right.
No, it's funny. It was one of the things I had to deal with throughout my career. I was always getting suspended. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been the player that I wouldn't have had the career that I had. It was one of the flaws of me as a person. But it was just the way it goes.
Yeah. What was it like that day, the playoff final, from a non-playing perspective? Yeah.
Hard, so hard. Because I knew. You look back on it now, and it took about 3 years for me to. Like, you see the people nowadays that are in squads and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't go up and celebrate on the podium with them and things like that. They would not. It was just the playing team, playing squad. Obviously, I walked around the pitch with a cup and all that with the boys, but but to not go on the podium and have the fireworks, you stand and watching it from the side, that was really tough.
Especially when you know you've played your part.
Yeah, I think I played about 40 games that year, you know, and to do that was hard. But you knew there was a bigger prize there, and that was the opportunity to play in the Premier League. And I think at that time I was having a big contract dispute with the club. Because that time I think I had a year left on my contract, and to be fair, they was offering me peanuts for Championship football, and obviously once we got into the Premier League, it changed. I always wanted to stay at the club. It was just I wanted to be paid what I was worth. When you see players that are earning a lot more than what you are, then you want to be paid what you're worth as a player. And so, but once I got promoted, I think within a couple of weeks I'd signed my contract and the opportunity to play in the Premier League.
Yeah. before we touch on the Premier League, what was you mentioned your disciplinary record? Was it out of clumsiness rather than maliciousness, or did you?
Listen, I've never once gone on that pitch and tried to hurt someone.
Yeah.
You know,
Adrian Mutu tried to say that he did, didn't he? I've talked about this before. For an elbow apparently against Chelsea.
Oh yeah, but I'm not being funny. You can going up for headers. You're always going to catch people.
Yeah, he spat his dummy out afterwards.
Don't really care, to be fair. But like, I've made some crap tackles, you know, against Villa and Angel. You know, nowadays I'd have been sent off 100% for that, but got a yellow card. I did a tackle on Andy Cole and give him 10 stitches down his shin, but I never. When I was going for that tackle, I'm going to top you and try and break your leg, and never. Always trying to go for the ball, and sometimes just mistime it, you know. And yeah, it's hard, but that was just me. I had to have that sort of that edge to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have played as many games as I played. I wouldn't have been the player that hopefully I'd turn out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And you started in the Premier League in that 02-03 season.
That was that.
Did you see a lot of changes in the club that summer? Because obviously to reach that level, there's a few faces coming in, but they kept the core of the squad.
The core of the squad, they just added that little bit of quality. Like, I think Stephen Clements came in, people like that obviously had Premier League.
Sav came in the first season, he didn't even.
Yeah, Sav came in
the first season.
And he's one of them players, Sav. You just when you speak about Robbie Savage, you'd rather him on your side than not. You know, and I used to love Sav. You'd walk off the pit, off the coach at away games. And as he's walking over, listen to this, boys. As he walks off, boo! They start throwing things at him. Horrible person. But he was a great lad. Yeah. You know, you could see why. Like Nico Vassin gave him a right hook up one day after training, because he was just always in your ear. Always, I'm the best player. I'm this. I'm that. I've got all this money. So chirpy. Yeah. And sometimes he just sent people over the wrong line. I remember Nico Vassin giving him a right hook in the changing room because he just kept on at him, you know. But that was quite fun. Lads sort of giving Nick a bit of a round of applause.
About time someone
fair play, mate. Well done, Nick. You know, but you'd rather have him on your team than not.
Yeah. That first season in the Premier League, I brought Matthew Upson in. Yeah. So that's a bit of competition for you.
We spent I think I've played the first 20 games of that Premier League season, and I think I had an operation on my ankle. It had been niggling me for a few months, and it was supposed to be 2 weeks I'd be back playing. And when you talk about injuries and how they affect your career, and I went in on the Saturday night after the game, had the operation on the Saturday evening, left it a week, and I had a little obviously you have a little stitch on either side of the ankle just to go in, so I just washed it out. Within a week it still hadn't closed up. Right. So it got to 10 days and I had to start running again. I think we was playing again on the Monday night, so I had like 18 days between the operation and playing again. And the surgeon was like, yeah, it'd be fine. It's just I took a couple of little things out, it'd be fine. And this one little side hadn't closed up, so I was running. And it got to that Saturday night and I knew I weren't going to be fit for the Monday because I was struggling. Got to that Saturday night and I was out for dinner with the ex-wife, with the missus, and she... and my ankle just went bang, just went up like a balloon. I had all yellow pus pumping out of it and everything. And I went, this ain't right. So I rung Neil McDiarmid. I rang him, Neil, 3 o'clock in the morning. My ankle's not right, mate. So I met him at the training ground on a Sunday morning. And he took me straight up to see the surgeon. I had an operation that afternoon to clear it all out. So from being out, I was going to be out for 2 weeks. I was out for 4 months, I think. Wow.
Was it just infection in the ankle?
Infection. I was on I had septicemia. Wow. So I was in hospital for about 10 days, being pumped full of antibiotics, which was a nightmare. And obviously that came. The January came, and I think Brucey brought in Matty Upson. Yeah. Which listen, he had to do because obviously he was thinking. And from there, I think I played about 50, 60 more games over the next couple of seasons. Yeah. I was sort of in and out, and that's when the West Brom move came about, because I hated not playing football. I'd rather play at a lesser level and play first team football than be on the fringes. It wasn't the sort of player I was. Yeah.
Were you honest with the club about that, and the club honest with you?
But listen, Brucey was as good as gold. I think I spoke to him sort of the third season it would have been of a bit of playing in the Premier League. I spoke to him and said, look, I need to be playing again. He said, just stick with me to the end of the season. He said, then I've got half a chance. He said, and I'll look after you. I'll make sure it's the right move for you. And West Brom probably was a good move for me at the time.
Yeah. We'll talk about time away from Blues. How was West Brom, first of all, the first place?
All right, brilliant. Played under Gary Megson. I was captain for the first half of the season. It was excellent. You know, we were sort of in and out the bottom three, and then Brian Robson came in. Gary Megson got the sack, and Brian Robson came in and just did not see eye to eye to him at all, with him at all. Just I'll keep my things to myself about it, but. If I wanted to say it, I'd get done for slander,
defamation,
defamation of character. But just didn't see eye to eye with him, and that was that. And I didn't play the sort of second half. I played sort of 2 or 3 games second half of the season, and that was it. And that was the Great Escape season. And when you talk about, obviously, I missed out on the playoff final, and then obviously the last game of the season when we stay up against Portsmouth again. When you stand on the sidelines and you're seeing it from the outside, it was hard. It was hard, but.
You've had the best seat in the house for 2 of the most memorable times.
No, you say best seat in the house, worst seat in the house.
Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
As a supporter, I had the best seat in the house because you could see everything was going on. But probably the worst seat in the house because you're involved in it, but you can't get involved. You can't. You haven't got the emotion and all that sort of stuff. And something after that game that has probably stood me in good stead as well. I remember we had Kev Campbell playing, and like everybody's in the dressing room spraying champagne about and all that sort of stuff. And when you speak to people and how they change your views on things, the older you get. And he was just sitting in the corner and just looking at it, and I went, "You're right." He went, "Yeah." He said, "I'm just taking it all in." He never got involved in the jumping about, the spraying of the champagne and the singing. He just stood there and watched everybody else do it, and just the way different people assess what goes on.
Appreciating what was going on.
And that's what he said. Look, I never expected this. I signed in January from Everton. Never expected to have this. I thought I'd be playing Championship football. And he said, "Now I've got another year in the Premier League." You know.
Yeah.
He said it's brilliant.
It's quite. You hear a lot of senior pros when they talk to young players in particular who have experienced success, say to them, make sure you enjoy it because it don't come along. And I know it was avoiding relegation, but in terms of that season, it was a massive success.
Massive success.
First team to be bottom at Christmas and stay up.
Huge.
So, and I think you hear a lot of senior pros tell young players, make sure you take this in and enjoy it because these days don't come along.
No, but you don't appreciate it. Obviously, and when I've said about, I never appreciated my career at all until probably now. And you look back on it now, but when you're playing, you do just see it as your job. You turn up with your wash bag every day. It's a jolly up, you know what I mean? What car am I going to buy? Yeah, I'm going to do that, you know. And now, when you see it from the outside, you think, Matt, could I have done things different? Yeah, totally, you could have done things different. But you see it now, and it's. I'd never have any regrets of it, but maybe I'd appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, 4 years at Cardiff, good times there.
Brilliant. Cardiff and Blues. People say, what was the best club? I know I'm on Blues TV, right? And listen,
be careful what you're about to say, Darren Purse.
It would be, I'd say, on the pitch, I'd say Blues for what we achieved and everything like that. Off the pitch and everything like that, because I'd say Cardiff. Because Cardiff was it was a great project. You know, I signed with David Jones had just gone into Cardiff, and it was one of them that's similar to I wanted to play football, and obviously I had 2 years left of my contract at West Brom, you know, and I just could not stand Brian Robson. And Jeremy Peace, the chairman, pulled me. He said Cardiff, and my agent knew about it anyway, but said Cardiff want to sign you. He said, and then you start negotiating. Well, how much going to pay me up the contract? But I left with pretty much nothing. I had 2 years, and you look at people nowadays that do it. I left West Brom with pretty much nothing. I had 2 years left. I could have sat there and picked up decent money, but I just wanted to play football.
And it goes to show the way you're talking about Cardiff, what a great decision that was.
Yeah, no, and do you know what? No matter what money West Brom would have paid, I'd have gone in a heartbeat because there was a project going on. And one of my biggest regrets is, obviously, I never got to play in the new stadium with Cardiff, and that was always the carrot at the end of everything. And Peter Ridsdale was there, Sam Aman. And just it was
an upward trajectory. Then the club, weren't they? They were
it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and to be captain of that for 4 years was fantastic to see how everything was developing and the way the squad was developing as well. Because I remember I met Dave Jones on the Friday afternoon at the Hilton at Bromsgrove. So we're sitting there having a chat, explaining what his vision of the club and all that sort of stuff was. I went, and they was going up to Scotland on a Saturday, and they was playing at Quinton Stanley, I said, I'll come up. So I met Sam McMahon on the Saturday afternoon on the way up at Stoke, at the Holiday Inn at Stoke, and then drove up and watched the Accrington Stanley game. And no word of why I signed for Cardiff, I will never know, because they were they were terrible. I looked at the players and I thought, how the hell is he going to put this together? And so I spoke to him on the Sunday. He said, Percy, you've got to trust me on this. He said, I know that it's not great, but he said, you just got to trust me. And to be fair to me, he bought obviously myself, Michael Chopra, Steve McFowle, like called Steve Thompson, Jay Bothroyd, just like Aaron Ramsey, Chris Gunter, people like that coming through the academy, and he just put a brilliant team together. Yeah, you know, and that's when you talk about sides that should have got promoted. At Blues, it took us 4 years. That was a side at Cardiff that should have got promoted the first or second time that they did it. But that took 3-4 years to do.
Good dressing room as well.
Yeah, brilliant dressing room. And that's why I pride myself a little bit on, because I was captain at Blues for a few years, obviously Cardiff. Wherever I've been captain at clubs, there's always been that sort of good dressing room that looks after themselves. The manager doesn't have to step in. There's always that respect within each other, but also the family side of it outside as well always got on. And I think it helped. When I say about Cardiff, the family side off the pitch, or like the off the pitch camaraderie, because I think it was all on its own and everybody had moved there. It was a great night out as well. It helped.
Yeah, great city. Lively fans.
Yeah, I'll probably
Blues, Cardiff,
Millwall, the luckiest the fans to play for. You know what I mean? They'd be in your top 3 or 4, weren't they? You know, Blues, Cardiff, Millwall, and I think that helped me because of the way I played. It always helped because I had that affiliation to the fans, because that's all they expect from you as a footballer.
Yeah, 100%. Sheffield Wednesday. Moving on. Not too much said about Sheffield Wednesday.
Got relegated the first year. That was probably the first time I was 32, and obviously when I was leaving Cardiff, I had a chance to sign in for Norwich in the January. When I met Brian Gunn, who was manager then, and I would have been I'd have been sort of 32, just turned 32, and Dave Jones. And you know, when I had a big falling out with Dave Jones because we had a disagreement and all that sort of stuff. Because he thought I couldn't quite play at the next level at the Premier League and the top of the Championship, and we had that disagreement. And to be fair to him, at 32, I probably couldn't. Right. You know, I look back now.
Did you argue the case though at the time?
100%. I still think I could.
Yeah.
But I look back probably now, 10 years later, and probably I probably lost that yard of pace. Yeah. Still tried my best. You know what I mean? Probably lost that yard of pace. And when I went to Sheffield Wednesday, obviously at 32, 33 years of age, they were expecting big things from you as captain and all that sort of stuff. And I probably didn't reach the heights that they expected. Yeah. And that, listen, I will always be ultra critical of myself. And I look back on that and I think, but we had a bad dressing room. Right. We had Franny Jeffers, Leon Clark, people like that. And I don't want to speak, but they were wrong uns. Yeah. They affected the dressing room massively. You know, and obviously I want to go into management, and that's where, when you've got players like that around the dressing room, you've got to get rid of them early doors. Because they, as much as you think, well, I'll just keep them around because I ain't got to come. Awful. And that was probably the first time over the 4 or 5 clubs that I've been at that I'd seen a real bad dressing room. Yeah. And that was why we got relegated, because the players we had, we should have been all right, but we were, there was a lot of poison around the place.
You hear so many players and managers talk about that dressing room and the mood within it, and the players within it. It's now, especially when you're recruiting players to bring them into the club. Yeah. No matter how good you are, if your attitude's wrong and you're a bit of poison in there, because it starts to affect the young boys.
No, it does. It's huge. All the people coming through. Obviously, if you've got an 18-year-old lad that's just signing as a pro, and he's looking at sort of Franny Jeffers and people like that, they're having. And it's not just Christophe Dugarry the second year. If you're looking at people like that and you're a young lad coming through, you look at him and think, well, if he can get away with it, I can get away with it. Yeah. You know, and it shows you the massive thing of having a good dressing room and that sort of real buzz and collectiveness around there. You can achieve great things. Yeah.
And then you get the chance to play for your word club.
Yeah. Do you know what? Milan Mandaric came into Sheffield Wednesday and spoke to him. I had a clause in my contract, and if I played 30 games in my second year, I got an extra year, and I played 28. And it just brought the club, and the first thing he did, literally after an hour of it thingy, he called me into his office. Him and his I'm trying to think what his chief executive was, who he just appointed. He went, Percy, He said, I love you as a man. He said, but you're not playing 30 games.
I'm squad.
I went, no worries, Milan, that's fine. He said, look, we'll pay you up the rest of your contract if you want. He said, if you can find somewhere else, go and find somewhere else. If not, you'll be leaving at the end of the season.
For his honesty, you know.
I've always said that as a footballer. That's all you want is honesty.
Yeah.
I went, no worries, Milan. I have no grudges. You know what I mean? I'll move on. And literally made a couple of phone calls. And I rang a mate of mine called Dave Ford, goalkeeper at Millwall. Ford, how's it going, mate? How's it going down there? And
Irish.
He went, the Irish keeper. Because he was at Cardiff with me.
Yeah.
And he went, Percy, he said, we're desperate for a centre half. I said, well, give me Kenny's number and we'll get. So I rang Kenny Jacket and he went, yeah, Percy. He said, done. And literally, I'd spoke to him on the phone for about 10 minutes. I think this was a Thursday. And on the Friday morning, I was in with the secretary at Sheffield Wednesday, getting me contract done. And while I was up in Sheffield, I hadn't even met Kenny Jacket or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
But just like spoke to him on the phone, signed my contract at Millwall, met him at the hotel Friday night at Leicester, and played against Leicester City on a Saturday for Millwall.
Manufactured the move.
You know what I mean? It's just funny how things go. You know what I mean? I remember speaking to my dad on the Friday morning. I was like, Dad, I think I've signed him for Millwall. He went, "You're joking?" No. He said, I spoke to him the night before, just like saying that this might be happening, and. I think I told him that on the Thursday that I was leaving Sheffield Wednesday, and then on I think got half a chance. He said, fans are going to Leicester to watch Millwall tomorrow. He went, yeah, so in the end, I had about bloody 50 people going to watch the game at Leicester.
That must have been, considering he's followed your career and he's seen you play at big games, for you to sign for the club that he's followed home and away, and that's got to be
brilliant. For me, just being around the place and all that was I never really got involved in that too much, if you know what I mean, because you're playing, but. When we were in cup finals and big games, I'd always go down and still do. Probably go and watch 3 or 4 games a year whenever I can. And but to put the shirt on and play for Millwall was unreal. Yeah, it's a great club and the fans are superb. But I always remember, and this is back from the Birmingham Millwall game. And like my dad's got loads of pals who support Millwall, so. On that game, I remember this bloke standing in the halfway lane. There's a breaking play. He's got up. He's gone, Purse, you're And my dad's mate, Bud, his nickname was, because he had really small ears, like huge unit, could be a bouncer. And I remember watching him from about 5. He was about 5 rows behind this fella. He's walked down the thing, and I'm looking at him, and I've clocked eyes with him, and he's gone, got this person. He's knocked on. He's put this lad on the thing. He's one of. Nash, you leave him alone, right? This bloke's looking at him and walked back up the thing. So that was quite funny. But in the middle of like the big sort of probably the biggest game of the year, the playoff semi-final, one of the biggest games of the year, I'm standing on the side of one of my dad's pals offering this bloke out because he's calling me names. It was quite surreal. Yeah.
Had a fair few clubs after that. Plymouth went on loan, went away.
Yeah, I was at Millwall, and you can. Back to that, I wanted to play football, and I spent sort of 18 months at Millwall, or just under 18 months, and I wanted to play football. And a mate of mine, Terry Skiven, was at Yeovil, and he wanted someone on loan. I weren't playing at Millwall, and so Kenny said, "Yeah, go down to Millwall." And while I was down there, I bumped into Peter Risdale on a service station, who was the chairman at Cardiff, and he'd just gone into Plymouth, and he said, "Do you fancy coming down?" And I looked at it, and when you talk about decisions and I looked at it, Plymouth were 9 points adrift at the bottom of the League Two. I played against Plymouth when they were in the Championship, good club and everything like that. I'm looking at how the hell are they there? He went, Percy, he said, and they'd just come out of administration, and he offered me the most ridiculous deal you'll ever realise. And I looked at it, I said, Peter, look, I said, the bottom of League Two, mate. I said, you can't be offering me that money. Yeah. He said, Percy, trust me. He said, you come in, we'll stay up. And I said, yeah, you might do. I said, but I'm thinking of like the well-being of the football club and all that sort of stuff. And like he was offering me, it was less than what I was on at Millwall, but he was offering me close to what I was on at Millwall, and I was on, I did it right at Millwall, And I went, all right, no worries. I said, well, speak to Kenny and see what he says. So Kenny Jacket, he was really he said, Percy, don't do it. He said, just stay around here for the rest of the season. He said that it's your boyhood club, and I'd made my decision. I said I want to go and do it. I want to go and play for something. Yeah. Because there was something there, and so he said, look, if you really want to do it, it's fine. He said, like, we'll tear your contract up and go. So I went and signed for Plymouth, and so I signed on loan initially, and then January signed permanent. And Cole Fletcher, he signed pretty similar. When you talk about dressing rooms and all that, we had a real young side, like probably 6 youth team players, 18-year-old, and he signed myself. A lad called Paul Watton, played for Southampton, played for Plymouth for years, like centre midfielder, very similar to me. A lad called Nick Chadwick, who was a centre forward, and Warren Feeney. Yeah. So that was the spine of the team. Everything else was 18, 19 years old, and he had us at 35, 36, a lot of us.
And it worked.
And it worked. We just got this Sweet Caroline, got that on. The lads were buzzing off it. So I'm not going to lie, before a game we'd play it 17 times. Really? And after a game 17 times. But everybody would be up singing it in a huddle and all that sort of stuff. And we just started winning matches just from pure rolling our sleeves up, grinding 1-0 results out. We'd nick a goal, sit back in. And like me and Watto would just organise everything, and Chaddy and Fino would like score a couple of goals. We had a couple of young lads that just run around. We'd organise them, and we stayed up. Yeah, stayed up with 2 games to go. Listen, if you give me that 9 points adrift at Christmas and you stay up, it's
your great escape. That
it was, and I looked at it now, and when you talk about decisions, I'd take that over any money or anything like that you'd give me, because it was just brilliant.
Do you think if you didn't bump into him at a service station, he'd still called you up, or is that just a chance meeting
I think it's a chance meeting,
and then just send your career that way, and you go and achieve? It's amazing how it works sometimes.
And you go.
It's just
random. Like we talk about it, and people would never do it now. So I was still living in Northampton. I jumped the train down from London's thing. I got sponsored by First Great Western. I jumped the train down from London from Northampton to London. I'd get the sleeper train every Sunday night.
On the
so I'd leave at 11 o'clock Paddington Station, get into Plymouth at 7 o'clock the next morning, have a sleep on the train, and that was that. And like I'd come back on a Tuesday night and then travel, and I'd drive back on the Thursday morning. Yeah, that's just what you did. Yeah, it's random. But the kids would never do that nowadays, would they?
Commuting off that, though.
Yeah. I know you picked up on his time in Finland.
Yeah, 2 spells in
Finland. No, when I was 16 at Orient, and got the opportunity to go and play out in Finland. I'd maybe debut in February and sort of played about 15 games at Orient. Went out there and played out in Finland just to keep me going. I keep that momentum going. Obviously, I'd made my debut, stay fit during the summer, play loads of games and come back. So I did that when I was 16 or I was 17, which was a great experience. Just the randomness of living in a different country. Finland is one of them. Where I went and played, it's like quite far up the north. So it's daylight pretty much all the time. I'd be going for runs at 3 a.m. trying to get myself to sleep. So just to get into it. So did that, and then came back, and somebody I'd met while I was out in Finland at that time, and a pal of mine went and played out there. My best mate went out and played out there after me. So I put him in contact with him, and he went out and played for a team called EFK Moreholm. I'd finished at Port Vale, and Mickey Adams said, look, as I said, I don't think you can play in League One. Obviously, we just got promoted from League Two. I disagreed with him. Probably now I'll probably agree with him and say, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. I was 36. So they rang me up and said, look, we want to qualify for the Europa League. He said, we've got about 15 games left. Do you fancy coming out for a few months? And I went, yeah, might as well.
Fair play.
Can't do it.
Did you have family then?
I had family, yeah. I had family. This and the Plymouth thing probably cost me my marriage, you know what I mean? But that's the way of the world. But yeah, just wanted to go and do it. I've done pre-season here at Northampton under Aidy Bothroyd. And when you talk, I know we were in League Two. As I said, I just got promoted from League Two with Port Vale. He should have signed me that summer. Whether or not he'll agree to that or not. But I did pre-season. I played about 5-6 games for him. I scored about half a dozen goals as well in pre-season. And the Northampton fans were, brilliant. It'd be a great signing. He didn't sign me. I half tried to force the issue with him and say I've got somebody else lined up. Yeah. And he just weren't having it. So I don't know if he thought I was a threat as 36, because from from 32, I've had my A licence, my diploma in football management and everything like that. Yeah. Maybe you saw me as a bit of a threat, but then obviously this opportunity came up. And enjoyed it, to be fair. Yeah. Enjoyed it. Still had the same problem, got sent off. But that's football, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we just missed out. We missed out on a point in the Europa League, which would have been the first time they qualified. But then over the last couple of years, the club's gone on, and they qualified for the Europa League next year, and then they qualified for the Champions League the year after that. So it's a club that's sort of progressing. For the Finnish Premier League, it's they've done all right. Yeah. You know. And
do you recommend young kids in particular 100%. Go out to play football?
I'd love. Obviously, I'm hoping over the next couple of years I can get involved with a club at some. Obviously, I'm involved at Oxford, but not on a full-time basis. You know, and if there's a lad there at 16, 17, 18 years of age that's maybe had an injury during the season, to go, I'd totally tell them get them out there, because it's a great place. It makes you grow up as a young man as well. You know, you got to fend for yourself. Different culture, I love it out there. I go out there every year and see the friends that I've made out there. And it's a great night out as well. So. Great weekend. So it's, everywhere he goes, always
you look at the nightlife.
On the nightlife.
Yeah. You've had some Cardiff, Sheffield, Birmingham, some nightlife.
So it's all good.
Come back. I'm not going to go through every club, but play for a fair few non-league clubs as well. Yeah, kept playing.
But when I came back, I obviously from a personal point of view, I split up with the missus, and I had my kids. So I finished it. I came back from Finland in November, and for a year I just did the school run, chilled out and all that sort of stuff. She went off and did what she did, and
enjoyed being a dad for a bit.
Yeah, I was just a dad like my kids. From a young age, I was always a hands-on dad. Yeah, you know, I'd always be the one that takes the kids to football, take my daughter horse riding, do everything with them. You know, I was always hands-on dad, and to be fair to my kids, when we split up, they said they wanted to live with me, which was for me as a thing that when you talk about achievements, that was my greatest achievement ever. Yeah. For your kids to say that to you, you know what I mean, as a dad was unreal. So I just took a year out, did loads of washing and did that, did the school run and did that. But then it got to that summer, and in the January I signed for Chesham. Yeah. Just a chance meeting with a pal of mine. They were going to try and get promoted from their league, and it meant I could obviously I train on a Tuesday and Thursday, but I didn't really train. I just played on a Tuesday, played on a Saturday, didn't train or anything like that. So it means on a Tuesday and a Saturday I had somebody to look after the kids, and I just played and earned a bit of beer money. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how the non-league thing started really. Yeah. And then obviously
kept playing though for a fair few years.
Yeah, but it was easy. You know, you just get people around you, and as a centre half, you could do it. And then obviously I had a couple of assistant manager roles, and just use it as a part of my coaching development. And I'd always do bits of coaching and all that sort of
money,
stuff.
Play football.
And it was a bit. The money was irrelevant as long as it paid me fuel there and back. I wasn't really fussed about the money. I just wanted to, and it gave me 4-5 years on my career, because no matter what, I still wanted to play football at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah. And finished last year. I think Christmas. Not last season. Season before Christmas last season, I got an injury on my knee, and it was. I think it was my body telling me that it was time to jack it in. Yeah, but I just couldn't get back from it.
But the best part of nearly 25 years of playing, from 16-year-old.
I don't know how I'm going to feel. I know when I get to 50, I'll be in a wheelchair. You know, but. To play football for 25 years, I think sort of you look back probably well over 1,000 games in sort of when you take in all every game that you've played. I've done all right.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you look back over the whole experience? I know you say no regrets, but
no regrets. Just I feel privileged. I feel privileged to have been lucky enough to play football, because it is the best job in the world, you know, to get up every morning and go out, and you don't appreciate when you do it, but it is the best job in the world to play football for a living. You know, it's unreal. And now, obviously, hopefully, I want to go into the management side. But if I look back at 65, 70 years of age, and I've been in football for all that time, I'd be the luckiest man ever, because football's just it's an unbelievable sport. I love it, and just love being part of it. It's brilliant. And obviously, when you do the video stuff and all that when you're watching games and the radio commentary. You're still involved in it. I like watching it as part of that because you never stop learning from football. There's always something you can learn from a game. Go and watch it, and everything you do, and every time you go and watch a game or a training session, you'll always learn something from it, whether it's good or bad.
Did you can just tell by when you do your Blues TV punditry, whether it's on a TV or on the during the game, you can see that you've got a coach's mind. You see a game well. Did you always want to go down that route?
Not really. When I was probably 28, 29, when I signed for Cardiff was probably when I started thinking about it. Yeah. But more, it got forced on me more than anything. We because Cardiff are governed by the Welsh FA and the Welsh Football Trust. They had a lad called Ocean Roberts, who's obviously now assistant manager of the Welsh national team. A lad called Carl Darlington and Matthew Bishop, who now works for the English FA. They was always in and around the football club, and they just probably chanced. They just said, look, can we put on a B licence course just for the players? And he said, it'll just be you, there'll be nobody from outside. He said, if you can get a dozen players, it makes us worthwhile. We can come in on a Wednesday afternoon on your day off at the Cardiff training ground and do the course for you. He said, it'll be 12 weeks, so 12 Wednesdays, and you'll be done. And you look back on it and you think, 12 Wednesdays, that's my day off. You know what I mean? 12 Wednesdays, I'm going to miss 12 days off.
Yeah.
And so there was like myself, Steve McFowle, Mark Kennedy, Sean Connolly, who else was it? Jay Bothroyd, I think, came on it. And a couple of lads from outside that we got in. So we had 12 of us, and so every week one of us would bring the lunch in, and we'd go out, we'd do the course, do the classroom stuff. Yeah. We'd get the youth team out there on a Wednesday afternoon for any coaching stuff we needed to do, and that was the start of my coaching journey, really. Yeah. And it was only then that I started to think, yeah, I fancy this. Yeah. But I hate coaching, and I'm going to say I don't like coaching one little bit. I do it because I want to be a manager. Yeah, I think going into management is my.
So you prefer the dealing with people?
The dealing with people, chairman, recruitment, all that sort of stuff. Dealing with the media. That's the side that I think that I really buzz off, and I really want to concentrate.
You get your number two in as a coach.
Get me number two in as a coach. Listen, I'll nip out. I see me as a coach that I probably won't be on a training ground every day. Yeah, I'll go out and do and say what I need to say when it needs to be said. But I always liked a manager that did that. You know, that the coach would take it, and you'd always see like a step up there. So you'd be at a level 4 when they're with a coach, and then as soon as the manager walked out, bang, and the intensity would pick up. The quality would pick up just because everybody starts thinking, the gaffer's here, we need to buck our ideas up here. Yeah. You know, and I want to be that man that makes that reaction. Yeah.
So as we sit here, school during the day.
Yep.
And then, how are you involved in Oxford?
So I do a day release on a Tuesday. So I have the day off here, go out, do the day release, and come back here.
Young lads.
Yeah, with the 16s. Yeah. So they do a day release from school Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, and Saturday mornings. So.
Yeah, one involved.
My missus don't know who I am. You know what I mean? Especially when I do Blues TV and all that sort of stuff.
I don't blame us.
Saturday afternoon. I'm never at home.
Yeah.
Which is great for me, as I said, because I just love football. You know, so everything I do is governed around football. But it's intense. You work long hours, but you've got to work hard to get where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to touch upon your Blues TV work. Pulled you in last year, I think. You know, probably a handful of games towards the middle of back end of last season, but enjoyed the punditry.
Enjoyed it,
as well.
Love it. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I've done dribs and drabs of it when I was playing, and I've often thought maybe it'd be something that I'd like to get into, but really enjoy it and get a chance to watch Blues play, which is brilliant. You know, when you spend a large part of your career at a football club. It gives you an opportunity to see them and stay involved with the game. It's good, really enjoy it.
Hopefully we can offer you some petrol money and get you in again this year.
Oh, it'd be nice if it comes about. So.
It'll be arranged.
It's looking forward to it this year again.
The Blues Talk Podcast with Dale Moon and Callum Denning.
Darren Purse, future Blues manager.
Old school, mate. I love it.
Would you have him as head coach?
Down the line, I don't see why not.
Yeah, same. I thought he was brilliant. Like I say, I particularly like the stories where there's a punch-up, just because it's quite interesting. You don't get to see those sorts of things.
Do you reckon Eddie Hearn could take that and run with it?
Possibly.
Robbie Savage, Nico Vasson, or Christophe de Gary, Darren Purse?
I love that he knows what he is, Darren Purse, and he says, you know, there's obviously more talented technical people out there than him, but what a player who gave absolutely everything on the pitch,
Tell you what,
squeezed every ounce of
I
talent.
thought he was quite harsh on himself. He's like, I never really had the ability.
This is a guy who's played in the Premier League, by the way.
Good few years.
You know, played 25 years of football. He's worked his way up, like he says, Leyton Orient, Oxford,
Under
Blues.
21 international football as well back in the day.
You know, and I think you talk about defenders, and it's obviously a hot topic with England at the minute, but there's something to be said about a defender who heads and kicks anything that comes near him, who can organise a back line and can read the game. I mean, young players, you don't need to be Franz Beckenbauer to make a living out of this game. And I think sometimes the young players in particular lose. It's a dying art. Someone who takes pride in defending.
You know, an interesting point you made that we never really touched on at the time while we were speaking to him. It's too many people are focused on stats. Young players coming up like, I completed however many passes,
or covered X amount of ground, or
it's about winning.
Absolutely,
and it's about keeping a clean sheet.
And when you're in the trenches, not too many more people you'd want alongside you than Darren Purse.
Oh, he'd be very, very near the top of the list for me.
Yeah, so as a bit of a fan, but as you know, listening to a professional who's got some great stories to tell, and you'd imagine there's plenty more that he couldn't say on air as well. But I
mean, we were talking for a good half an hour before hitting record. So
yeah. But you can see though, as we mentioned in his Blues TV coverage last season, there's an intellectual mind there. There's someone who sees the game particularly well. I think there's something that I've read just during the last week about how defenders tend to make good managers because they have to see the game and read the game. And I think you look at Darren Purse as a prime example. 25 years of experience, all the way through the leagues. Played with different personalities and the different managers, different styles, different cities, well-travelled bloke up and down the country. And, you talk about young English managers getting a chance. Well, maybe one day he could be Darren Purse.
Well, speaking of Darren Purse on Blues TV, of course, Blues TV back for the 2019-20 season. Live video coverage for international subscribers, audio for UK subscribers. And we start, Dale, away at Brentford.
Yes, a trip to West London to take on Brentford. So
our last ever trip to Griffin Park, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't miss it, I'll be brutally honest. For away fans, though,
brilliant
crammed
on the
in,
terrace.
great atmosphere behind the goal. From a Blues TV technical point of view, it's
absolutely not
great.
Fixture calendar's not done us any favours there.
No, but it's going to be intriguing game, and we know what Brentford are all about, what their DNA or club philosophy or whatever buzzword you want to use, that Brentford have done for a good few years now. So they'll try and play football. The sun will hopefully be beaming. It'll be a good pitch. So good tests for Blues, and then quickly followed up on the Tuesday night with the Carabao Cup tie against Portsmouth.
A week before anyone else plays in the Cup.
Yeah, the only downside is I'd love that to have been a weekend.
Well, you've got family down there, haven't you?
Yeah, but even for Blues fans, say you travel to Portsmouth for a weekend, would have been on the coast. Sun would have been hopefully nice. But, it's a Tuesday evening on telly.
It's just cruel now, though, talking about the prospects of having them on a weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe next season.
Well, actually, we need to have a look at the fixtures and just see where those freezing cold Februaries and Januaries are going to be this year.
Well, some key dates here. Boxing Day, we're away at Blackburn. It's going to be pretty unpleasant in terms of weather.
Anything to go by.
New Year's Day, we're going to be here.
Always better to wake up.
Yeah, I don't mind being cold, hungover at St Andrews. That's fine. Wigan at home. But the big key date for your calendar, 23rd birthday, mine, Luton away. That's the big one.
Lovely.
That's what we want.
Yeah, nice one. But, you look at the running. We haven't spoken about this fixture list, but to me, it stinks of a league that's wide open.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Is there any teams in there that you particularly think are going to run away with it? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, there's probably 13, 14 teams that fancy it.
They'll all make an argument. They'll all make a case. I can add one or two players over the summer, build upon last season. Obviously, the three that come down will want to bounce straight back up. Then you've got the ones that continue the momentum from a good League One campaign into the new season.
Luton fans, they're well up for it.
And then the ones who narrowly missed out in the playoffs, your Derby, West Broms, Leeds, or you'd imagine will be up there again. Middlesbrough have a change of manager. Mm-hmm. So, no one really that I don't think Blues will be scared of. First home game against Bristol City.
Yeah.
Same as last year. Mm-hmm. Thought that was a bit of a robbery against Bristol. So was it 2 years ago last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, bit of a robbery against them. They played some good football, but we won that game. And then you finish with 3 of the last 5 at home. Swansea at home, Stoke away, Charlton at home, Preston away, Derby at home, And then the FA Cup final for us on May 23rd.
Have you booked your accommodation for Wembley yet?
No, not yet, mate. No,
I'll put you up, crash in my living room.
Day trip. But no, looking forward to it. Fixtures are out, players are back in, we're rocking and rolling.
And week on Sunday, we're off on tour.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
I know, you've let us down. You've let the side down.
Sadly, I'm not part of that trip.
Where are you swanning about?
No, I've hit that horrible age where everyone's getting married, so it's stags and weddings, and I'm best man for a couple of my mates in the summer. So, fortunately, the dates did clash, and I've been very unprofessional and put that above my work life, which, it's annoying because this trip, I think, will be a very decent one. Don't get me wrong, Austria's been great the last couple of years and trips that I've been involved in. Portugal has a bit of a different feel, beaming hot sun, and you'd imagine there'd be more to do for the players around the facility. Where they're based, a couple of friendlies as well that you'll be covering, and for your first pre-season trip,
I was going to say, I'll be representing the Blues Talk podcast there. We might have to make a one-off loan signing, keep it going, because it's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, no.
In between our two fixtures, we are... Now, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this correctly, so any Portuguese listeners, tweet us at BCFC. Cova de Piedade is
Sounds
my
good.
complete guess.
For me. Let's just blag it.
Thursday night, 8 p.m. And then Saturday, we take on Vitória de Setúbal in the Europa League a few years ago.
Listen, it's disgusting.
Knowing that I have to get in front of a microphone just now. That's 6 p.m. on the Saturday. Both matches available on Blues TV for a one-off fee of £4.99.
Oh, great!
So you can watch. Don't worry.
I can watch
even though you're not there, you can watch.
Yeah. No, I will.
We will charge it.
I will be watching it. They are always good trips. So I'm sure they'll have a team bonding activity or two whilst they're out there. Lots of training. I know you and the boys will have some plans to bring all the coverage back here via Blues TV. And friendlies, you can't look too much into results, but the first time that they'll have a run out in Portugal, a couple of games, get some minutes into the players, and then they come back, and really you're then 2 weeks away,
stretch,
a bit weeks away from the season.
3 friendlies before the first game of the season there.
Yeah, so and you'd imagine, not that we're in the know, because we're genuinely not, there'll be new faces to go, faces to come. The squad could look a little bit different before come April the 3rd. So, lots of exciting couple of weeks ahead, I think. Lots to report on.
Well, the next time you hear from the Blues Talk I can't even say the word podcast. I'm that excited about Portugal.
Who you're going to hear from, but...
I know, you'll hear something. Next time you hear from the Blues Talk podcast will be in Portugal on that pre-season tour. And, we'll be looking ahead to the start of the season, baking in the sunlight. Yeah, hopefully having a great time.
Baking in Brentford.
With
no...
That's a podcast title. I'll give you that.
Yeah, baked in Brentford.
This has been the Blues Talk podcast. I've been Callum Denning.
And I've been Dale Moon.
Back in a fortnight. We'll see you then.
The Blues Talk podcast.